Welcome back to the Robbins Business Show. This show is all about small business. What are we talking about? Everything. I could quickly list what we don't talk about, which almost doesn't exist.
I don't think it exists.
Yeah,
if it doesn't exist,
like
we've got to talk about
talk
it.
about anything. About small business, and this is part two of two episodes where we are talking to Lauren Barker about the Cape Cod Young Professionals, and so it's kind of a unique show. It's a special show, but two parts. So all of our episodes are on YouTube, so you can see both parts there and access them at your time and convenience. But I'm Bill Fox, the co-host. But the other co-host is someone you better watch out for. I mean, if you see him coming across the street,
I would.
They say, but you can't miss him because they say he is incandescent.
Yeah, that's me.
And they also say that he is incendiary. He's, catches on fire.
It's even more fiery than incandescent.
And ingenious, he's Coach Robbins.
Mr. Bill, thank you.
And I
actually knew some of those words. I knew what they meant. Yeah.
I said special episodes for us. We've got Lauren Barker, CEO, Cape Cod Young Professionals. Lauren, nice to see you.
Bill, yes.
Hey, Lauren.
Thanks for hanging in here for 2 episodes.
Yeah.
My
And
pleasure.
we covered a lot of ground on the first one. We did the Back to Business Bash that's coming up in September.
September 19th.
That's a big event, 900 guests, fundraiser, a lot of fun. We also talked about the projects on Cape Cod. The common thread on Cape Cod is to work with young professionals to choose the Cape, careers on the Cape based on amazing place to live,
Yep.
work, play, and raise a family. You also have this. You seized on a partnership with an organization called E for All. It's a group that fosters entrepreneurship. So you grabbed onto that partnership, and that's you got a $100,000 grant from a thing called Mass Tech Collaborative,
Right.
and to train and encourage young people. And the E for All partnership. Let's see what we were at number 8. We've got I want to talk to you about advocacy for policies and resources supporting young workers.
Sure.
Well, that's
Yeah.
heavy duty stuff.
It is.
That's really heavy duty.
That was
meaty.
Well said.
But I want
Of course, she typed it for you.
Lauren, I want to start you off on the second episode. There were 2 surveys, you say.
Right.
Talk to us about that.
Sure. So CCYP, or Cape Cod Young Professionals, we're a little unique as a young professionals organization. We do the typical things that you would expect of a young professionals group, such as connection and networking events and trying to get people together and form that sense of community. But we go a step further as well because of the unique need of Cape Cod. We are a 501c3 independent nonprofit. We're not a subsidiary of any other organization nationwide or statewide.
Standalone, yep.
We are standalone. And then we also have 2 paid staff members and a budget that we work with that's funded just like any other nonprofit organization through grants and sponsorships and that sort of thing. When we're working toward our mission, we have the Connect pillar. We're working to connect, engage, and advance Cape Cod's young workforce and future leaders. And under that Connect pillar is the things you would typically expect. The Engage piece is this part, the policy and advocacy piece, which is really unique for a young professionals group to be so embedded and so deeply working on these sorts of issues. The Cape has some unique challenges, but in large part they mirror those of the nation right now and the world. In fact, our current and up and coming generations are facing a lot of challenges that just weren't the same as they were for our parents. We have 300% more student loan debt than our parents had. We're half as likely to own a home as our parents were at our same age. And so there's just a lot of challenges that need to be spoken to and talked about on a wider spectrum. And things that we can do here locally to try to combat these challenges, and not necessarily giving people special treatment, but trying to facilitate and support our community from the beginning of life to the end, and that means really offering some specialized support in some cases for our young workers and young families.
Right.
So some of the things that we're working on currently, we maintain really great relationships with our state representatives and legislative delegation here on the Cape. We work collaboratively with our town officials as well, and we're looking, and the county, I should say. So we're looking to identify these areas that are of critical need for young people to live and work here successfully, and that's what these surveys go back to. The first one was back in 2014, dubbed the Shape the Cape study. This was a huge study done in collaboration with Northeastern University, had 4,000 respondents, and really helped us to pinpoint some of the root causes as to why young people might not stay on the Cape to foster their careers and their lives here. Fast forward to last year, 2018, we did a small follow-up survey of about 400 people, largely in that 25 to 44 age range, and found that some of those same issues were persisting in being challenges for our young professional community. Housing, for example, career advancement opportunities. So what's that next step? Once you've done your entry level, what then? But now we're seeing some emerging issues like childcare, having
because they're getting older, right?
Well, and it's not just the affordability; it's nationwide, and it's not just the price point of childcare. On the Cape, it's actually a lack of available options for childcare. So we have less businesses that are in that childcare sector.
That's right.
People are getting out of that business. Maybe they're retiring. Maybe they're choosing not to get into it in the first place because of the regulatory constraints. And so we're exploring that issue. We have just put together, and our board has just approved, a policy position on childcare. We already have one on housing. And what that does is it guides our action in the policy and advocacy realm of things. So we're looking at doing some continued meetings and outreach. We'll be having some educational sort of efforts that we're undertaking as part of that, and really focusing on the action and the tangible outcomes of how we can affect some positive change in these areas.
Right. Excellent.
And what you got, those of you who are watching the episode, I just want to say, as you listen to Lauren, it should come across as slightly amazing, okay? That if you're a younger person, that you have a place to go where you will not be laughed at.
Right.
Quite the contrary.
And that you're not alone in facing these challenges, because I think that that's what we hear a lot of is, well, I thought I was the only one that was struggling with finding year-round housing and not just jumping from a seasonal rental to a seasonal rental. Or maybe I thought I was the only one that couldn't find summer childcare to maintain my full-time year-round job because the price of summer childcare skyrockets, just like our summer housing market. You're not alone. You're not the only one. There's a whole community of young people that are actively working. We have a public policy committee that actually works on these issues year-round. And again, we're meeting regularly and talking regularly with our policymakers, decision makers, and they see CCYP as that stakeholder group that represents our young worker community. So if you want to see positive change, this is where you get involved at the ground level and help to affect that.
I also want to say that Lauren, the CEO, Cape Cod Young Professionals, but the young professional idea is alive elsewhere in the country. Although you pointed out to me that your group here is unusually strong. I mean, it's very well led.
Thank you. I can't take full credit for. I mean, the roots of this organization go back nearly 15 years at this point.
It doesn't matter if
very
you're in
strong.
San Francisco or you're in
that's true.
Texas or Wisconsin. Doesn't matter. This idea is you know that there's
right.
This takes place because
Absolutely, and they take different structures. I mean, I think that's what's so unique about CCYP is that the structure is very much directed by the need here on Cape Cod, and that, you know, again goes back to the surveying that we do and the community involvement that we try to pull in into everything that we do. So we don't want to be working in a vacuum. We want to really be meeting that need of the community, making sure that we're constantly evaluating and reassessing. Are we meeting that need? Do we need to adjust and pivot to make sure that we're doing that better? But yes, all across the country, we have young professionals groups that are working, you know, maybe in similar ways. I haven't found too many that are structured like us, but I think they offer leadership training and career advancement opportunities and a lot of the same things that we try to do.
Well, a young person could actually contact your organization and ask for a reference elsewhere in the country if someone was watching this show,
sure,
you know, from Michigan or whatever. I'm just picking a state, but could email and ask a question of your organization and maybe get directed to you know, a contact out there. Right?
Sure. I mean, we hope to foster more of those connections across the country and the state. There's lots of young professionals groups in the state of Massachusetts, and we hope to do more collaboration with them because really joining together, I think, would make it a force. And I think, again, you know, you look at New Bedford, Fall River, or, you know, the South Coast, and you're seeing some of the same challenges, even out in Western Mass.
Well,
the SBA, the same challenges.
The SBA has a whole focus now coming down about rural, helping more rural. I mean, not that the Cape, and yet the Cape does have some areas.
The Cape is actually classified rural.
That's right, but people don't consider it that because it's not rural in July and August.
Right.
But come September, it becomes very rural.
Yep.
And this is where young professionals do want to live in Western Mass. They, you know, went to you know, Williams College, that's the college he went there. And, you know, they want to stay there and they want to stay. They love the air, they love the Berkshires, but what are they going to do, as you say? So young professional organization in that area is very important to have that.
And across all demographics and industries and experience levels, we're pulling in people from the community to try to foster those connections, which I think is how you bridge the gap in a community that trends towards some of those rural challenges of finding and connecting people with opportunities. CCYP has become the hub for that. So we have a job board, for example, where a lot of employers locally post their job opportunities. We encourage, you know, more of people to take advantage of that because it is a Cape-specific job board, which you don't really see a lot of. So if you're looking for employees, a lot of people come to CCYP events to look for their next employees. And how do you get opportunity? You make your network stronger and bigger and meet people and forge those relationships, and that's why people keep you top of mind when they've got something coming up. And so we're trying to encourage that on both sides.
Excellent.
Now, Cape Cod Young Professionals, you have Lauren, you got a public policy committee and your board of directors.
Sure, and actually a number of other committees as well. So we put on several events throughout the year. Each one of those events has a steering committee. We have a governance committee that works internally so that, you know, on the organizational management side of things, we're really maintaining those good internal practices. We've got our bylaws updated and our board members have job descriptions and all that great stuff. So yes, a lot going on behind the scenes to maintain that excellence of operations.
Public Policy Committee is identify solutions, serve as a community connector. You've talked about that quite a bit, connections in the community and bringing together key decision makers.
Right? And voter education. I mean, that's another big piece of where we're expanding. There's a lack of objective, nonpartisan voter education out there here on the Cape, and we've identified that that's a need that we can help to fill in some cases. It's difficult at the town level with there being 15 towns to track elected
15 towns, 58
candidates.
zip codes. Provincial is
but
that.
At the state level last year, we had great success with doing a state representative and state Senate race questionnaire, and the questions that we compiled 5 questions, very simple, very straightforward, and all the candidates were sent the questionnaire. We had a great response to that from our candidates, and a lot of people came to us and said, I took this printed copy of your questionnaire to the polls with me. And that told us all we needed to know, that this is a need to have that nonpartisan information that's geared toward the young professional community and what those challenges are and how our elected representatives plan to address them.
Exactly.
Now, housing of a 2018 policy position on housing.
Right.
Well, talk to us about that's a big deal. We said child care is an issue, but
Yep.
Housing, I mean, having a place to live is nice.
Yes, it's critical. It's essential. Everything else builds on that. If you
That's
don't
why they
have
wanna come
stable
here. That's
housing,
why-
you can't excel in your job because you're worried about where you're going to live.
Right.
And I think if you dig a little deeper, you'll start to understand that the taboo around housing is not justified, because I can name you a dozen different people that I know that are in high-level positions or working, very respected people in the community, and they've struggled to find year-round housing. They might have had a winter rental, and at
Right.
the end of the season, they don't know where they're going to go.
Right.
And it's not a taboo thing. We need to break that down and start to talk about this more, and we have great organizations like the Housing Assistance Corporation and Community Development Partnership that are working on these things from their perspective. From CCYP's perspective, a lot of what we do in that housing policy position is geared around civic engagement. So getting our young people to show up and show out at our town meetings or at public hearings that center around housing issues, to come and
Work
share
on
their
some zoning
experiences.
issues, yeah.
Right, or join a committee,
Exactly.
a planning and zoning commission, or whatever the case may be. Get involved at whatever level you feel comfortable doing, because that young worker voice is missing in many cases.
It is.
And the towns and committees and decision makers are craving it. So if we can help to facilitate and encourage and empower our young people to get more involved and to not be intimidated by these processes, but to just come and
Embrace
share
them.
their experience,
Just embrace them, right.
then I think we're going to start to see a lot of positive change that happens from that.
Now, you say that your organization supports ADU bylaws.
Yeah. So the accessory dwelling unit bylaw, which actually, if you flash back to a couple of years ago, was very challenged in a lot of towns to pass, but just this most recent town meeting season, I think there were 3 different towns that passed an ADU bylaw, and basically it's an in-law apartment or a carriage house apartment. It's an accessory unit to a standalone dwelling, and you have an option to rent that out for extra income if you're a homeowner, if you're someone who's just trying to get established in their career. You need a place to live. It's a smaller footprint size.
Right.
We're not
More
adding,
affordable.
right, more affordable, arguably. And, it helps people in all stages of life, because one of the interesting things that we've heard from more recent studies done by the Cape Cod Commission, for example, people in their senior years are looking for the same things that young people just getting established are looking for.
Exactly.
They want smaller footprint, less maintenance, more community, and they want to be part of that, community and things going on where they can walk to stuff, maybe not have a vehicle, be as much a part of their lives.
Exactly, be more downtown, a little
Exactly.
village.
Right.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? You work within the existing built
Right.
environment of what's already there. So we're not adding density or adding new housing or new buildings. You're working with what you already have. And so, yes, we've encouraged young people to educate themselves on the ADU. CCYP as an organization supports that. We can't tell people and don't tell people how to vote for things, but we
No.
encourage them to go out and educate
Just give them
themselves.
the data.
And show up and speak to their own experience and
Right.
have their voice heard.
You mentioned that earlier, voter guide, housing resources on your website.
Right, correct.
Right. What's this Giving Circle Fund? What's
Yeah.
that deal?
So the Giving Circle is a collective pool of funding. We have a lot of different donors, dozens of donors that contribute to that on a monthly or annual basis. can be a one-time or a recurring contribution, and all the funding is pooled to have a bigger impact. So if you can only afford $5 or $10 a month for charitable giving opportunity, this is a great option for that. And each year, we're actually getting ready just today to open up the application for area nonprofits to apply for funding if they have a project that lines up with our mission as an organization. So if you're helping young professionals and young families, like E4All, like another organization, we've had a lot in the childcare sector apply for programs.
There's a lot of not-for-profits on the Cape.
There are a lot of non-for-profits.
It's like 2,000,
yep.
isn't it? Something that's,
a
lot of those are just one.
It is 2,000 or more, yeah.
Yeah, museums and.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, fostering that opportunity in all these different areas that we work in, and we're looking for applications, and that's what the Giving Circle funds go toward. Is they support organizations like CCYP and others to do this work.
And you also CCYP, the board approved a policy position on childcare. We mentioned childcare earlier, but that's for younger people. That's a big deal.
Absolutely.
Very
So a lot of times, what we're finding is that childcare.
It's not just availability of childcare.
It's not just availability.
It's the expense of it.
Yes.
Quality.
Right.
And expense and location and.
Yep. All of it. The whole shebang.
Deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so statewide, the average for one child for childcare for the year is more than $17,000. If you look at that on a monthly basis, you're coming out competing with a mortgage payment or a rent payment. If you have more than one child that needs after school or full day care, then suddenly you're more than a mortgage in your monthly costs that you're paying. And so if we're talking about wanting to foster opportunity for young people to stay here, a natural extension of that is what happens when they want to put down roots and potentially start a family. It's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't want that, but for those that do, it is a challenge, and equally or more of a challenge than the housing piece of things.
But it's also a challenge for the business to be here those other 10 months of the year and only get the revenue for July and August, which is one of the main focal points of the market down here anyway.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different angles to the childcare issue, because you also have, and similar to the housing issue, you have businesses who have vacancies to fill, and they can't get young people to apply or stay in those roles because of the issues like housing and childcare, which make it very difficult to maintain your typical 40-hour week full-time position. What we've heard from a lot of employers is that they need to add a certain level of flexibility where they're working from home, or maybe job sharing, or that sort of thing, to accommodate the childcare situation, which for some results in them not being able to drop off until 9 in the morning, and they have to pick up by 2. And what kind of full-time job is going to
9 to 2?
You can't really maintain it when that's going on. And so that's part of what we're looking at, is what are some solutions. We have several towns that have implemented universal childcare or offered scholarships, and so we definitely are in favor of those sorts of programs.
Those would be wonderful.
And they send a message to young professionals and young workers that, yes, this community wants me here. If they're offering this help, and it's not income restricted, that's the other thing.
That's important.
There's a huge missing piece when we talk about housing and childcare. If it's income restricted, you're missing people who are working full-time, year-round jobs, and
the higher level, more highly trained person.
Yeah, so they're not going to qualify all the time for that assistance, for the need-based assistance. So
you got
pull that income restriction
has
out.
an action plan on childcare, right?
Yes, correct. So doing the outreach, as I mentioned before, education about those facts that I just mentioned, about the cost, about the fact that in many cases, this is lower hanging fruit than housing, which is very complex, and lots of red tape involved there. Not that it's a fight that shouldn't be fought by any means, but that in some cases, fighting the child care battle could free up that income and the burden that's created, and allow people, a little bit of wiggle room in their monthly budget.
affordable housing can be created, and of course, you got the water problem that,
Right.
you know, so there's all kinds of things
Yeah.
that need to be addressed.
And we need those smart minds and emerging
Right.
professionals to come in and help with, you know, challenges that, quite frankly, every community faces challenges.
Yeah.
But we need the workforce to sustain
Right.
those solutions.
You
Yeah.
bet.
CCYP is, you said it's now like 15 years old?
Next year will be the 15th anniversary.
15, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And how many members do you have?
We have about 1,300 individual members that are part of the organization, and at any given month, when we hold an event, we get 75 to 100 attendees just on a regular basis. And then our bigger events like the Bash get 900, that sort of number. Yeah, good turnout.
Pretty impressive.
15 years? Pff, I got underwear older than that.
It's a young organization. It is. It's young,
Young,
and it's
dynamic
a force.
organization.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Hey, Lauren, thank you.
Thank you.
for being on the
Thank
show.
Thank you, Lauren. Good to see
And
you.
you guys, thanks for watching. This has been a special with Lauren Barker, CEO of Cape Cod Young Professionals. This is the Fox Robbins Business Show. All of the episodes in Fox Robbins are uploaded to YouTube. It's a convenience. You can go and look any time at your convenience. Go to the front page in YouTube and just type in a single word, Fox Robbins, FOXROBBINS. Click, and voila, there you go. It explodes. It explodes
200
in front of
shows.
you.
Wow.
It's a cornucopia of information.
Cornucopia. Boy, he's full of big words.
I know he
Isn't that
is.
wonderful?
It's like a thesaurus
And
over
thank
here.
you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.